The history of the Justice League is almost as long as the Snyder Cut's runtime.
If it's swordplay you want, it's swordplay you'll get.
The famous super team has battled everything from child-murdering Amazonians to ill-advised 90s art choices to the existential crisis that is literally becoming apes. But that all came much later. We want to look at the deranged early versions of the characters we've come to know and tolerate.
I need friends.
This is the show that dives right into the bonkers, the embarrassing, the unbelievable bits of canon that Wonder Woman would probably spank us for talking about. We're talking Wonder Woman's love of BDSM, Superman's origins as an evil homeless guy, and Darkseid's insatiable thirst for monogamy.
No harm is to come to Wonder Woman.
This is CanonBall. Zack Snyder's Justice League had decades of storylines to pull from, but early comic book writers had to start from scratch, and boy did they come up with some weird-ass scratch. Number 4. Superman started out as an evil homeless dude. One could reasonably assume that Justice League's usual leader, movies notwithstanding, was created during a brainstorming session wherein two nerds went back and forth screaming out every possible superpower and scrawling them onto a dirty napkin. Flight? Yeah. Laser eyes? Hell yeah, brother. He can throw an S symbol on his shirt and it turns into wax paper and captures people mid-flight? I think you know the answer to that. But when creators Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster first sat down to make the character, they envisioned him less as a godlike alien and more as a homeless dude named Bill. Oh, and evil.
Alfred, I need the big gun.
The Reign of the Superman appeared in the January 1933 issue of Shuster's self-published fanzine Science Fiction, because it was easier to name sci-fi magazines back when there was only like 4 of them. In the story, a mad scientist named Professor Ernest Smalley finds a meteor and devises a way to make it give people telepathic superpowers. Rather than risk it on himself, Smalley naturally tests his invention on a random vagrant he finds waiting in a bread line.
This is a lot.
After a little convincing, Smalley brings the man back to his lab and transforms him into a very Superman, who immediately kills Smalley and proceeds to wreak havoc on the world.
But I'm also a big fan of justice.
Superman initially uses his telepathic powers to thrillingly win card games and manipulate the stock market. But if the World Series of Poker has taught us anything, it's that you can only win so many hands of Texas Hold'em before inevitably thinking you deserve to rule the planet. So Superman devises a scheme to disrupt a peace conference and throw the planet into chaos, thereby making it easier for him to wrest control from the powers that be. But after that, plot twist, his powers just kind of fade away. His meteor magic vanishes like he entered the 6th hour of a 5-hour energy drink, and since regular man didn't think to open up a savings account with his blackjack earnings, he simply goes back to standing in the breadline like he was a week ago. The end. Honestly, it's starting to look like the whole random subplot of Superman being evil and then more or less kinda randomly becoming not evil again was actually extremely faithful to the comic books. Good job, Zack?
Do you bleed?
As you might imagine, this D-tier Twilight Zone potboiler didn't exactly blow up and transform Siegel and Shuster into international literary superstars, but it did make Siegel think, what if, instead of being a total douche, this awesomely named Superman guy was nice? Then maybe he can live in a house. Oh, okay, still no house. Got it. Number 3. Batman was almost a lame dude in a red costume, when the non-evil, hair-having Superman turned out to be a massive hit.
What a nice man! Of course he's Jewish.
The company, now known as DC Comics, called up all their editors and told them not to bother showing up on Monday if they weren't working on a character who wears underpants on the outside. That's what prompted artist Bob Kane to come up with a new superhero named the Batman.
Darling, I don't have to answer to you. I'm Batman.
Did he just call you darling?
A dark vigilante who struck fears in the hearts of criminals with his bright red costume and handsome blonde hair. Kane's version of Batman wore a domino mask, dressed in crimson tights, and had his wings permanently stuck in an upright position, which would have made getting into the Batmobile a lot more challenging. Luckily, there was no Batmobile, or Batcave, or unhinged villains living in a mental asylum boasting incredibly lax security, or anything you might associate with Batman other than the words bat and man.
The shark repellent bat spray.
Oh, and the underpants on the outside. At least he got that right. Perhaps sensing that his idea would have had more chances of success if it didn't suck so much, Kane approached writer Bill Finger about banging out some stronger ideas for the Batman concept, using a process we'll call finger banging. Kane suggested adding the cowl, the cape, the gloves, and the emo kid fondness for dressing in black. Finger also went ahead and named the character Bruce Wayne, and came up with the whole vengeful orphan angle, so we have him to thank for the fact that we'll be watching the Waynes get murdered on screen until the Earth crumbles into cosmic dust.
You ever dance with the devil in the pale moonlight? What?
More stuff Bill Finger invented? The term Dark Knight, the name Gotham City, the idea of Batman as a detective, and the Batmobile and the Batcave, which we're mentioning one more time because we just think they're neat. He also wrote the first appearances of the characters of Robin, Commissioner Gordon, the Joker, Catwoman, the Penguin, the Scarecrow, the Riddler, Two-Face, Clayface, Mad Hatter, Hugo Strange, Kite Man, Zebra Man, Calendar Man, Polka Dot Man, Penny Plunderer, Ace the Bat Hound, and even the mighty Batmite.
Hello, 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 dynamic duo! Ta-da!
Basically, he created or co-created everything that makes Batman cool, and also Robin.
Holy haberdashery! Holy ravioli! Holy hole in a donut!
Unfortunately for Bill Finger, Bob Kane was way better at negotiating contracts than he was at creating characters. So he got a sweet deal stating that he would be credited as the Caped Crusader's sole creator in every Batman comic. Finger didn't get his first official creator credit until 2015, in the trailer for Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice. But without him, Zack Snyder's Justice League would have featured Ben Affleck meandering around on foot in red pajamas for 4 hours and 2 minutes. Someone else who got some long overdue cinematic recognition in Dawn of Justice is Wonder Woman, but maybe it's for the best that her early incarnation was never in a movie. Number 2, Wonder Woman was born of BDSM and secretarial work. Wonder Woman is often depicted as a badass warrior, a symbol of female empowerment and a role model for girls everywhere. So it might surprise you to learn that her early adventures were less about dismantling the patriarchy and more about indulging her creator's weird bondage obsession. See, Wonder Woman was created by psychologist William Moulton Marston, with the invaluable input of his wife Elizabeth and their shared girlfriend, the bracelet-wearing Olive Byrne. Dr. Marston was a big believer in the social and psychological benefits of tying yourself and your loved ones up every once in a while. So he designed Wonder Woman to be sort of a celebrity spokesperson for the noble art of submission. The result is a comic where the hero is constantly tying up bad guys, or other women, or random gorillas, or getting chained up herself and loving it, or getting spanked, or any number of other fetish fodder material that had nothing to do with fighting Nazis, which was the main job of superheroes back then. When she isn't embarking on 50 Shades of Grey action with war criminals, Wonder Woman often partakes in bizarre bondage rituals back home on Paradise Island. In Wonder Woman number 3 from 1943, for instance, the Amazons celebrate Diana's Day, which is basically BDSM Christmas. That is, instead of decorating trees and getting socks from your uncle, you put on Eyes Wide Shut type masks, hunt down women dressed in furry reindeer costumes, and then pretend to serve them as a giant pie. The issue spends like 8 pages on this stuff before the villains even show up, because it was more important to teach 1940s kids about safe and responsible bondage etiquette. And when Wonder Woman does get around to fighting supervillains, half the time she ends up dragging them back to lesbian Utopia Island for bondage rehabilitation, or just brainwashing them into not being dicks anymore. As for other superheroes, she does team up with them pretty often, as their secretary. When Wonder Woman joins the Justice Society of America in 1942's All-Star Comics number 11, it's explained that some of her fellow heroes, quote, felt that a woman should not be permitted to become a member, presumably due to cooties-related considerations or because they were afraid of getting tied up in their sleep. Luckily, they kindly allowed her to sit in on their meetings and take notes as the official JSA secretary, meaning that, despite being strong enough to lift an island, Wonder Woman has to stay home and sharpen pencils or change the toner in the printer while the boys go off and fight evil. Her fellow superheroes may not have appreciated Wonder Woman, but someone else sure did. Number 1, Darkseid's motivation was mostly marrying Wonder Woman.
I've waited a long time for this moment.
One of the big selling points for Zack Snyder's Justice League is that we finally get to see Darkseid, the ultimate bad guy of the DC universe, and technically the Marvel universe too, since Thanos is basically his Walmart brand ripoff. In the comics, Darkseid's motivation is to acquire the anti-life equation and control all of reality, but in his first animated appearance, he would have settled for controlling one very specific part of the universe, wherever Wonder Woman happens to be standing, because he's horny for her.
My queen!
The 1984 and 1985 seasons of Super Friends introduced Darkseid as a villain, resulting in his first ever TV appearances, first action figures and accessories, and first Burger King cup holders. Darkseid's creator, Jack Kirby, handled the official comics tie-in, so he must have been aware that the show changed the character's entire motivation from exterminate free will and bring complete order to existence to marrying this hot lady he's never met before.
Wonder Woman!
Darkseid's plans on the show usually follow the same formula. Step 1, catch Wonder Woman by her lonesome.
Wonder Woman, eh? Is she alone? I was hoping you'd come alone. Wonder Woman, alone.
I thought you would be interested.
Step 2, somehow persuade her to marry him.
Holy proposals!
And step 3, well, he never got to step 3, but presumably it would have resulted in the very painful birth of some half Amazonian, half mountain babies. Oh, but this wasn't just pure lust. Cartoon Darkseid actually seems to care for Wonder Woman. He makes sure his lackeys don't hurt her.
No harm is to come to Wonder Woman.
He's always courteous towards her, and he even says that he'll still consider marrying her after she's lost her powers and become a regular lady in a swimsuit.
Ah, Wonder Woman, even though you have lost your powers, I will still consider accepting you for my queen.
Thanks.
Man, what an absolute sweetheart. He also seems sincerely shocked and hurt whenever she rejects his love, or when he learns that she foolishly prefers the attention of some chump who can't even shoot omega beams out of his eyes, Steve Trevor. In one episode, Darkseid goes as far as to pose as Steve, when even a grand romantic gesture like turning the real Steve into a caveman fails to persuade Wonder Woman to love him.
Or should I say, your ex-boyfriend?
Darkseid falls into a deep depression to the concern of his friends and family.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
Sadly, this was the last season of Super Friends, so we never learned if Cartoon Darkseid managed to grow as a person and get over his Wonder Woman fixation, or if he still stalks her and sends her rock pics via social media. Either way, we demand the inevitable Snyder Cut of the Snyder Cut explore Darkseid's quiet evenings as a lonely, sad bachelor. The fans deserve it. Thanks for watching this episode of CanonBall. If you liked it, make sure to like and subscribe and jump in the comments. Let us know what we should cover next time. If you didn't like it, I have to assume you stayed this long for my Justice League fanfiction. My, said Batman, huskily. Now I see why they call you Elongated Man. Sadly, I've already yazzed my tights, but that's why I've invited Resurrection Man.